The superhero genre. What a time to be alive. As a movie watcher, of course. Man, that was a bad joke. But no, in all seriousness, the superhero genre has simply been a genre that has been dominating our movie going experiences over the past, say, a decade now at this point. And while there's obviously many reasons as to why that happens to be the case, I would have to say that, in my opinion, it's because I believe the superhero genre is easily the most friendly towards the most amount of demographics. And in this case, well, I'm talking everyone. Rather you're a mid 20s guy like myself who's just going out to watch them with my friends, a family that's ready to take their kids out for some movie time on the weekend, or even your grandparents who maybe grew up on the comics themselves. You're starting to see where I'm going here. Hence why 4 of the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time have been of the superhero genre. You'll never forget the time that you fell in love with the genre for the first time, and rather that love for the genre has subsided now, the memory of waking up on those Saturday mornings to the smell of waffles and hearing the sound from the original Spider Man, or maybe Batman, the X Men, Justice League Unlimited, or, say for me, it was Teen Titans.
When there's trouble, you know who to call. Teen Titans!
From then on, we've gotten some absolute gems that some are still trying to recreate to this day, like the Sam Raimi Spider Mans and Dark Knight trilogies, to some that can't seem to take off no matter how hard they try, and finally, to some dumpster fires that are rebooted so fast that you forgot that you even watched the first one. I'll just leave some of those on screen. The point is, no matter how many people want to claim that there is superhero fatigue, for those of you that are not new to the channel, you know that I will never believe that to be the case. Which brings us to the point of this video, The Flash. A movie that I don't want to say is the most anticipated movie of a roller coaster and fractured life that we call the DCEU. And I don't know, can I even say roller coaster? I feel like in order to be called that, you have to have some ups compared to downs. And I mean, does this really count? If you're talking to somebody completely new, someone not familiar with the old DCEU, or sometimes I'll just say the SynderVerse throughout this video, so bear with me, about the filmography of, say, the movies that we have received so far, like Wonder Woman, Batman vs. Superman, and the Justice League, it would be pretty normal and easy to believe that I would be talking to them about an extremely blossoming and frankly booming franchise. Crazy. It's insane to even imagine that we've gotten to this point. And it's even more insane to think that we pretty much are living through the same thing now with just different IPs. With the most prime examples that we have are the problems that are facing Lucasfilms and Marvel Studios with the general connection that they used to have with their audience. It seems as if almost astronomically impossible for a studio to just simply abandon its vision, no matter how successful or terrible it is. And while I'm not going to go through the entire downfall of the DCEU and eventual succession of James Gunn to oversee and in reality have his own universe, The Flash is pretty much the beginning of the new and the ending of the old. But honestly, even with that, I think it's pretty easy for me to say that I believe The Flash is going to make $1 billion. And honestly, I don't even think at this point that's a minority opinion. With Spider Man fan service, yeah, sorry about that. With Spider Man No Way Home being the last film of the genre to overcome the milestone of becoming big earners with the capital B. And don't get me wrong, while the times have changed now with many contributing factors like COVID and being shut down as an entirety of the world, or what some might believe to be oversaturation of the genre as a whole, or what I believe to be a sharp decline in quality, there was a time where the big B, the big billion, was more commonplace than it probably should have ever been. And while Blade or X Men or the already mentioned Sam Raimi Spider Mans and Dark Knight trilogies might have been some of the most important pioneers of the genre, it 100% goes without saying that the introduction of the MCU is truly the catalyst of it all. Without the MCU, it's truly hard to imagine the vision that the genre of superhero movies would have even taken if not this path that we're on right now. But that leads us into The Flash, and why I believe that it can be now one of those rare superhero films that can find themselves to actually fight and overcome that uphill battle to crack the big B. While obviously there's still many contributing factors, as mentioned before, as to why making that billion has become a more and more rare occurrence in the era that we're in right now, this video isn't to necessarily focus on the negative reasons, but more the positive reasons and aspects that I think this movie has going for it that led me to believe my point. And while there's more than enough controversy surrounding the film, or I guess specifically the lead actor Ezra Miller, let's not be naive to the situation. Cancel culture has never really stopped that before, and I think at this point it is now truly just a pick and choose narrative that doesn't really seem to hold any weight. It didn't affect Hogwarts Legacy, but it might affect Aquaman 2 with Amber Heard. Truly a pick and choose narrative, as I said. But let me tell you, I don't think for one moment that that narrative is going to affect the film bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman in the slightest. Leading into what I believe this film might have going for it most: fan service. A device and tool that has mixed meanings in the world of cinema throughout time. If used right, it's enchanting and developing the audience even more into your world for an even more surreal and memorable experience. And if done wrong, it can be the absolute downfall of a franchise, and at worst seen as a meaningless cash grab that's forgotten in less than T minus 5 minutes. One of the most horrible places for a studio to find themselves in, but a position that I feel as if, unfortunately, Warner Brothers put themselves in. But ever since the release of that first initial The Flash trailer, showcasing the return of Michael Keaton's Batman, who some revere as the best Batman of all time, and well, I don't know, you know. The buzz around this movie has only increased in a positive direction, in my opinion. The more and more you hear about the movie from the critics, and yes, I know, they're just mostly fanboys, but I do feel like more of that is mostly applicable to Marvel, because those same shills are the ones that aren't afraid to tell me how bad this new Aquaman 2 movie is going to be, and those same shills are the ones that got Batgirl sent to the Shadow Realm. And while yes, it's always taken with a grain of salt with these type of reviews or messagings that these critics put out in any form of entertainment, just from my own two eyes with the two trailers that we've gotten so far, this looks like a juicer. Contrary to a lot of recency bias with the total destruction of the Shazam and Black Adam in universe with that big-headed bloke Dwayne Johnson.
Now, what you're going to see here is why the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. Things will never be the same because the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
DC has been rather solid in their products with the Joker, the Batman, and while the box office might not support this argument with the rebooted Suicide Squad, the success of the spin-off show starring John Cena's Peacemaker does more than enough to gauge my point. And while I don't want to jump the gun,
So funny.
DC is building a reputable track record, and while the declining quality of the MCU might also play a huge factor in aiding that momentum, though momentum is still there regardless. So whether you care about the controversy of the actor involved, rather you care about the addition of fan service with Michael Keaton's Batman, or rather it's just the declining of the MCU that just does a little bit of window dressing for DC, they all lead to my strong opinion that The Flash would be the next billion-dollar superhero movie. I want to thank you guys for watching, and of course, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, future or otherwise. I might have already reviewed your favorite show or movie, or if you just want to watch some reviews of recent things that have come out, like The Mandalorian or The Last of Us, just know I've already done that. As always, this is just my opinion, so that's why we have a comment section. Do we agree? Do we disagree? I don't know. It all seems pretty inevitable at this point, so just let me know what you think. But otherwise, that's all the words I got for you today. Bye.